Amen. Didn't those men look wonderful?
Yeah.
It is a good thing when you have the men of the church leading out. I mean, you're singing so beautifully. What a wonderful message in that song. One that sounds so good, but often we struggle with. We often say, lead me, Lord. I will go if. But truly, God wants us to be in a place where we can say, lead me, Lord. I will go. Amen. I pray that He gives us all the strength to go where He calls. Amen. To go where He calls. It's good to be back in the Freeport Seventh-day Adventist Church today. I told Pastor Clark that I almost anchored here in Freeport. When I graduated from Oakwood in 2004, I spent a year in Huntsville trying to figure out what's next, and then Providence brought me back home, and my parents just built their home over the bridge, and came here. I applied for a job, and I got it. They weren't paying much, and they said I needed my own vehicle. It was in my field at the time, computer information systems was my degree. And I got a call from Atlantis. My cousin worked there as a director. He got me an interview. And they were going to pay me the exact same thing to work part-time. And the Lord said, I gave you wisdom, boy. And so I ended up anchoring in Nassau, working at Atlantis, and God bless there. And actually, that was providential as well, because my experiences there are what led me to be impressed and convicted to go into ministry. Amen. So I ended up resigning from Atlantis in the height of the recession in 2009. People said, are you sure? You are now at managerial level and you have the transponder to go over the bridge, the phone, and all the perks. And so God said, go. He was leading me, Lord, and I said, I will go, Lord. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, though. But God provided. And I completed seminary without one loan. Amen. My parents weren't in a position to help me, but God provided. Amen. Sometimes when God calls us to go, we may not have what we think we need. Amen. But if He says go, He will provide. Amen. But I'm glad to be here, and I've come a long way. I'll talk about that in a second. I want to say thank you, Pastor Clark. He had to step out. Pastor President Clark. Had to step out. Don't we have a wonderful pastor? Oh, yeah. He's a shepherding pastor as well. I actually pastored in some of the places where he went, and everybody I was there, they still called him their pastor. He has that type of impression. And wherever I went, if there was a funeral, sad times, they want Pastor Clark to come back and do the funeral. He has a type of a personality and his heart for service. And so we continue to lift him up as he leads here in these times and to carry out God's will. Amen? Amen. So thank you to Sister Patrice as well, and for their hospitality. They are housing me and taking care of me, and I felt like I was getting a 5-star treatment. It felt so wonderful. They said, listen now, whatever you need, just come or go and get it, or just call and we'll answer. I said, okay, Lord. But I'm grateful for your hospitality and for your welcome. I bring greetings on behalf of our conference, South Central Conference, and my president, Pastor Benjamin Jones, Secretary John Nixon, and our treasurer, Sonia Creighton, who I am here at their behest. They sent me, and as was shared by Pastor Clark, we did a drive throughout the months of September and October, collecting goods and finance and monetary donations. Sonia was bringing some, and then others were shipped. I think they came this week sometime or on their way. The people just had an outpouring of love. I invited the YMCA where my church worships. I have a different type of church. I'll tell you something on the side if you want to know. But I invited them to get involved with it, and they gathered goods from the community. And they showed up. A local school got involved, as well as one of our Spanish churches. And they were excited to share some love to the people of the Bahamas. Amen. So I told them when I told them I'll be going, they got even more excited. So they asked if I could take a picture. And so if you don't mind, before I go any further, I want to take a picture of you wonderful looking people. Show I was here. I might get some light in there, but that's all right. And then I want to take one with me in it. Say I was actually here with you. And I didn't just
selfie like that. I see a selfie with the congregation. Go ahead.
They might say you took some pictures somewhere. Get some of this wonderful quiet and quiet here. All right. All right. You can just say now that's that American on him just causing this foolishness in church. But good to be here with you. I know Pastor Claval Hunter wanted me to give you his greetings. I believe he was here recently with the group. He said he still remembers his time with the Jervis family. He had a wonderful time working with God's people here. I bring greetings on behalf of my church, which has loaned me out. I'll be out for them for 2 weeks, this week and another week. And Journey Fellowship 7 Adventist Church in Cordova, Memphis, Tennessee, where our vision is to create safe spaces where people can encounter God. Amen. And share Him through relationships. Amen. So we try to make our community, our faith community, more than just Sabbath worship. We want to connect outside of worship. So our big theme is more than worship. Amen. We want to be more than worship. And I bring greetings to my wife Renee, our twins Annalisa and Gianni, and the baby of the family, Amara. She's 2. She's getting up, but she's still the baby. For us, they are in Atlanta, Georgia, with her family for Thanksgiving as I come. They loaned me out as well. Okay. So thank them for letting me come. It took me a long time to get here, not just traveling from Memphis to Atlanta and then to Nassau and to here, but I drove the family to Atlanta about 6 hours, and then when I got there and we settled in, I said, let me check in early for my flight. I had a 6:20 flight the next morning. So I went to check in and they asked for my passport number, and then I realized I packed everything with my passport.
Oh gosh.
I said, well, you better get to going. Jumped in the car. It was about 4 o'clock, and I drove 6 hours back to Memphis. Now my flight is 6:20 the next morning. I need to be at the airport at least by 5:20 or earlier. And Atlanta is an hour ahead of Memphis. So I jumped in and I said, man, I have a cousin in Birmingham. I said, it's about 4 hours from Memphis to Birmingham and then 2 hours from Atlanta. I said, if you feel tired, you just can't do it, stop on the way. Southwest gave me 2 options, 2 later flights, and probably I would come sometime tomorrow here to the Freeport. But I said, Lord, if you want me to go, then you give me some energy. If you want me to go, as I kept on driving, I got home, felt good, and I talked to Hunter. Coming back until like 1 in the morning, he finally got sleepy. And then I called my friend Rory. Some of you know Rory Major, his family here. And I called him before and told him what was happening. And I was getting down. I got to Birmingham, 2 hours left. And I said, boy, are you going to make this? I didn't feel too bad. So I kept on going past Birmingham. And man, I was like, did I really want to go past Birmingham right now? And maybe when I had about an hour and a half left, Rory called me like at 4:30 in the morning. He said, man, somebody just said, call and check up on you. And he hung with me for a little while longer. Once I got below an hour, I was like, man, God, we got this. I made it to the airport. Can I tell you, my flight is at 6:20. I made it there at 5:15. What? Got in there, checked in my bag. Went through security. I got right to boarding as the last few people was going in. And I said, God, you wanted me to make it. But even more, when I got home to Memphis and I got in the room to get my passport, I realized that we had a space heater that was on in the room, plugged in and set on high. Oh, good Lord. We would have been gone for 11 days. I said to myself, thank you, God, for the trial. Because sometimes the trial comes that God's grace might abound even much more. Sometimes our negligence makes room for God's grace. So I'm grateful to God I turned around.
Awesome.
God bless me even more. And I made it back in one piece. Amen. So I give God thanks to be here before you today. And if that wasn't enough, and if what he said about Samson and the hair isn't enough, just remember, even with Samson's hair, the Holy Spirit didn't go anywhere. The Holy Spirit was still upon him with his hair. I hope that you can hear from the word of the Lord today. I've gone too long in my interest in that little welcome and but I have a word that I want to share that I brought a long way. And it's found in the book of Samuel, Samuel the prophet. 2 Samuel chapter 9, and if you would have it in your Bibles or your smartphones or your smart devices, whatever it is you may have. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1. Grateful for my Aunt Diane to be here. I just contacted her yesterday. Didn't know I would make it on time, but she said, I'm going to be there for service. Amen. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1. I'm going to read a few verses here. I read from the New King James Version of the Bible. Oh, you have it on the screen. Awesome. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 1. The Bible says, Now David said, Is there still anyone who is left of the house of Saul that I may show kindness for Jonathan's sake? And there was a servant of the house of Saul whose name was Ziba. So when they had called him to David, the king said to him, Are you Ziba? And he said, At your service. Then the king said, Is there not still someone of the house of Saul to whom I may show the kindness of God? And Ziba said to the king, There is a son of Jonathan who is lame in his feet. So the king said to him, Where is he? And Ziba said to the king, Indeed, he's in the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, in Lo-debar. And King David sent and brought him out of the house of Machir, the son of Amiel, from Lo-debar. And now when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, verse 6, the son of Saul, had come to David, he fell on his face, prostrated himself. Then David said, Mephibosheth. And he answered, Here is your servant. So David said to him, Do not fear, for I will surely show you the kindness of Jonathan. For your Jonathan, your father's sake, and will restore to you all the land of Saul, your grandfather. And you shall eat the bread at my table continually. Then he bowed himself and said, What is your servant? You should look upon such a dead dog as I. And the king called to Ziba. He didn't even respond to Mephibosheth. He called to Ziba, his servant, and said to him, I've given to your master's son all that belonged to Saul and to all his house, that you, therefore, and your sons and your servants shall work the land for him, and you shall bring in the harvest, and your master's son may have food to eat. But Mephibosheth, your master's son, shall eat bread at my table always. Now Ziba had 15 sons, 20 servants. Then Ziba said to the king, According to all that my lord the king has commanded his servant, so will your servant do. For as for Mephibosheth, said the king, he shall eat at my table like one of the king's sons. Hallelujah. Mephibosheth had a young son whose name was Micah, and all who dwelt in the house of Ziba were servants of Mephibosheth. And finally, verse 13, so Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he ate at the king, continually at the king's table. I want this part. And he was lame in both his feet. He wants you to remember that at the end of the story. He told you at the beginning, but he really wants you to remember that at the end of the story. I want to spend the next few minutes as we journey through the green pastures of God's word, talking to you on the sermon titled King in Your Corner. All right. King in your corner. I invite you to pray with me. Lord, we already asked you to prepare our hearts before. We know that your spirit is already here. Oh, yes. And so God, we just ask you to go by every pew and touch every person. And that you would open up our hearts to receive your word. I pray you would speak to us individually. When I would proclaim your word, I pray, God, that you would convict our hearts and that you would give us the courage to say, lead me, Lord, I will follow, and to actually do it. Yeah. And so now, even as we read this book in Samuel, when we think of Samuel when he was a boy, before he even knew you, we cry out, speak, Lord, thy servant's here. Guess what? We're ready to do your will according to your mighty power. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. And amen. On June the 27th, 1880, in Tuscumbia, Alabama, a baby girl was born with the ability to see and to hear. But at 19 months, she contracted an unknown illness described by doctors as an acute congestion of the stomach and brain, which at that time may have been scarlet fever or meningitis. They're not really sure. The illness, though, left her both deaf and blind. At that time, she was able to communicate a bit somewhat with Martha Washington, the 6-year-old daughter of the family cook, who understood some of her signs. By the age of 11, she had more than 60 home signs that they both had come up together with, and she was able to communicate with her family. Even though blind and deaf, she passed through many obstacles and learned to live with her disabilities. She learned how to tell which person was walking by the vibrations from their footsteps. She could tell the sex and age of the person based on how strong and how continuous their steps were. Determined to communicate with others in a more conventional way, as the most conventional way as possible, she actually learned to speak. And spent much of her life giving speeches and lectures on aspects of her life. She learned to hear people's words from their speech by putting her fingers on their lips. Her sense of touch began to become more heightened. She became proficient in Braille, reading sign language with her hands as well. And in 1904, at the age of 24, she graduated from Radcliffe, becoming the first deaf and blind person to get a Bachelor's of Arts degree. She wrote a total of 12 and published 12 books and many articles. She was an American author, political activist, a lecturer, well-traveled, outspoken in her convictions, member of the Socialist Party of America, Industrial Workers of the World, women's suffrage group. She campaigned for that, for labor rights, socialism, anti-militarism, and other similar causes. She was inducted into Alabama's Hall of Fame, Women's Hall of Fame in 1971, and one of 12 inaugural inductees in the Alabama Writers Hall of Fame on June 18, 2015. Her name? Helen Adams Keller, commonly known as Helen Keller, proved to the world that deaf people could all learn and communicate, and that they could survive in a hearing world. She also showed that deaf people are capable of doing things that hearing people can do. She's one of the most famous deaf persons in history, and a hero to many deaf people around the world. Her story reminds us that our limitations don't define us. Amen. She reminds us that we have more to give the world than our hang-ups that we've been handed, and that just because you're down on the mat does not mean you're out for the count. Right. Too often we let our setbacks prevent us from stepping up to what God has in store. And I just stopped by Freeport Seventh-day Adventist Church from my long journey to remind somebody that God has not forgotten you. Amen. I just stopped by and say you may have had setbacks, but your setbacks doesn't have to be your final status. Right. You may have had disappointments, but your disappointments don't have to define you. You may have had limitations, but your limitations are not the end of the line. Because whether you realize it or not, there's a king in your corner. There's a king in your corner who loves you. The primary person in our particular passage today was in a similar position. Mephibosheth, we're told in 2 Samuel chapter 4, is the son of Jonathan, who was the son of King Saul, right? King Saul was king of Israel before David. And when Mephibosheth was just 5 years old, and I'm still struggling to figure out how hard he really felt. He fell at 5, my kids are 6. Now I know, so I wonder about this, but it says that news came to Saul, and Jonathan had been killed in battle, and his nurse panicked, picked him up and started to flee, and in the commotion, she dropped him. And when he dropped, he was injured so bad, he became lame in both of his feet. Mephibosheth begins his life with a setback. That is not his fault. Many of us may be dealing with a disability or an injury or a bad turn of events that seemingly limits what we are able to do. And it may not be your fault. Certainly, many of us, all of us, my parents had a house over the bridge that's been completely destroyed. are dealing with the effects of Dorian, which was not your fault either. I've heard some foolishness from people sometimes during storms that this is God's way of bringing judgment on people. But I understand from God He reigns on the just and the unjust. Amen. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and wickedness in high places. And so the devil is alive and well. If anything, it reminds us that this world is not our home.
That's right.
We are looking for a city whose builder builds without hands.
That's right.
The sun shines forever. And so it's certainly not anyone's fault that Dorian came by here. But life has been hard because of Dorian, and for whatever setback you may have had in your life, it has been a handicap that has made life more challenging. On top of that, there's another handicap that we all have to deal with. Passed down from our father Adam. No fault of our own. Man, I wasn't even there. Paul describes in Romans chapter 5, verse 12, he says, therefore, just through one man's sin, sin entered the world, and death through sin, and death spread to all men. What's this? He says, because all have sinned. All of us. Because of Adam, every human being has to deal with the hang-up of sin. There's no perfect person in all of humanity save Jesus. No one who has encountered difficulty, who has not encountered difficulties or setbacks in their life, some more severe than others, but everyone has been dropped in some way because of Adam. And we all have to deal with the handicap of sin that comes with eternal limitations. What I'm trying to say is that every human being has to live with the paralysis of sin and its consequences. The challenge with many of our setbacks, as it is with sin, is that it feels like we can't solve them on our own, and many of them we can't. So what do we do with these things that hold us back? What is our hope? Let's go back to the story, because I believe there's some lessons for us. We go back to 2 Samuel 9, and chapter 10, 9, and verse 1. It says, now David says, is there still anyone left in the house of Saul that I may show kindness to? 2 Samuel 9, 1. For Jonathan's sake. Watch this now. We're told that there was a servant, right, from the kingdom. Ziba comes and he says, listen, man, there's Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth is from Jonathan's family. And then David says, man, go get him. Send for him. Let's try to find him. David is seeking. He wants to show somebody kindness. And I'm going to come back to this, the dynamics of him being Jonathan's son and being Saul being his grandfather. But as we think about this and what David is doing, I remember my first week on the job at Atlantis, right? And I need to use this now for a second. First week on the job for Atlantis, and I was fresh out of college. And got this job at Atlantis, entry-level job at Atlantis. And I have my bachelor's degree, and first year, and I'm excited about what, the work they're going to give me and the things I'm going to learn. And my supervisor says, all right, I have a big job for you. He takes me down to this room, and he says, I want you to move these computers from this room here and down to the next side of from Coral Towers all over to Royal Towers. I want you to move these. I'm like, man. After all of that study, they had me in a gopher. But I said, I'm going to do this thing quickly, and I'm going to show them, man, listen, man, I'm ready to do some real work. So I quickly move those things, get them out of the way, put them in that closet, and I come back to him and I say, man, I'm ready. I need some, give me something for real. He said, all right, I got something for you, man. And so he takes me out to another room, and he opens the door, and inside are printers. Old, big printers, bigger than the computers. And he's like, man, I need you to take these from here over to this other room over here. I'm like, man, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this over with. I start moving the printers, and as I bent down to pick up one of the printers, I wasn't really dressed for heavy lifting. Go ahead. And so when I bent down to pick it up, I heard the sound. My soft khaki pants that I've been wearing split from the leg here all the way up to the end of the thigh. And I guess you could say I was a little bit exposed. So man, all day I was walking around gingerly, not wanting anyone to see what's going on over here? And I made it through the whole day. Nobody saw it. Got back to the office. And I'm debriefing with my supervisor at the time, and he's talking to me, and somehow he looks down and he sees the tear. And he says to me, he whispers, hey man, do you realize that you have a hole in your pants? The pants don't. I said, I realize that. I do this all day. Yeah, I realize that. And so he says to me, it's the Bahamas now, you know. Say Isaac King, right? Say Isaac King. I'm like, well, we in grade school, in high school, what did you just say Isaac King? I said, well, no, but I said you was the king. He said, he turns around to the room, the rest of the room, hey, everybody, and I grabbed him by the, you was the king, right? You was the boss, right? You was the chief. He gets up, he's finished doing what he's doing, puts his bag on, walks out the door, turns around, smiles, says, all right, bro, see you tomorrow. And I don't know about you, maybe you say I caved in, but I tell you what, that was a good time to have the king in my corner, right? That was a good time to have the king in my corner. And what I realized, man, is that it's a good thing when the king is in your corner. When the king is on your side. And as we begin this story, we see David the king looking for someone to show the kindness of God to. And he's seeking out someone from his enemy's house. Because Saul, remember, was trying to kill David all this time. And he's trying to show him kindness. And I'm just here to say today that, listen, the king in your corner wants to show you kindness. Amen. He's looking out for you. The Bible says in James 5, verse 11, indeed we count them blessed who endure. You have heard of the perseverance of Job and seen the end indeed by the Lord, that the Lord is very compassionate and merciful. Just as King David was concerned with showing kindness to a member of his enemy's house, God is seeking to show kindness to you. Amen. Compassion to you. And I love one of my favorite scriptures is Romans chapter 5, verse 8, that God demonstrates his love towards us in that while we were yet sinners, not when we had repented, not when we were doing what was right, when we were his enemies, Christ died for us. Amen? Amen. Amen. This is the same God that is looking to show kindness to you, that in spite of your situation, there is a king in your corner that is concerned with you. Amen. So how should we respond to this notion then? How should we respond to this notion that there's a king in our corner? Back to the text. We go to verse 6 of 2 Samuel chapter 9. The Bible says, now when Mephibosheth gets before David, right? And David says, is this Mephibosheth? What does Mephibosheth say? It's strange to me. He says, what is your servant? This is in verse 8. Verse 8, he says, what is your servant that you should look upon such a dead dog as I? So you know the story. Mephibosheth was dropped as a child. He's been lame ever since. He's been hiding out in Lo Debar, far from the comforts he once enjoyed when he was in the palace, when he was back at home. And even he can't help but focus on his limitations. He's probably saying, I can't be king. I can't be a threat to anybody. And he's probably saying, I certainly don't deserve the king's kindness. Sometimes we get like that too. Yeah. When we have gone far out away from God into Lo Debar, we get to the place where we're like, man, I don't deserve God's kindness. I don't think he'll accept me back. I don't think that I can come back into the household of faith. That is far from the truth. That's right. That's what the devil would have us believe, to keep us away from God. Because God is always like the father in the prodigal son story, at the end of the road, looking out, waiting with open arms to welcome us back. Mephibosheth already has this mindset that he's been counted out. Maybe like Mephibosheth, you're in a situation and it's not your fault. Maybe you were dropped. Maybe someone dropped the ball for you. You know, it's been 12 weeks, 84 days, 2,016 hours since Dorian passed through here. Lord knows many people probably feel like they've been dropped on their head. Maybe you feel like the government dropped the ball. Maybe you feel like NEMA dropped the ball. Some people feel that the Venice church has dropped the ball, is not doing enough. But all that I'm hearing, I see Freeport doing their part. Maybe you just feel like maybe you're an immigrant in this country and you hear the national discourse about immigrants in the wake of the storm, and even before, you feel like behavior is going to drop you. Maybe you just feel like God has dropped you. Maybe you look across the seas, and in America, where I reside, you hear about police brutality against people of color.
Yes.
You hear the hate that comes out of the president's mouth like a fire hydrant.
Yeah, look here.
If you hear about the institutional racism in our society there, and even in our church in America, even though the Emancipation Proclamation has long gone out and colonialism has been ended in the West Indies and the Caribbean, maybe you still feel like you've been out in Lodabar, socially, economically, financially, culturally. Maybe you were born with a health issue. Maybe you were molested as a child and it was not your fault. Maybe you were raped. Maybe you were abused verbally or physically. Maybe you didn't have a father or a mother to raise you. Maybe you had to raise your parents instead of them raising you. Maybe no one gave you guidance. Maybe no one was there to provide for you what you needed. Maybe you didn't get the education that you needed. There was no one there to inspire you, to push you, to build up your confidence and your self-esteem. And it's not your fault. Maybe the business closed down or cut back. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe you self-medicated just to get through the day. Maybe you dropped the ball. Now maybe like Mephibosheth, you're counting yourself out. You're saying that job is not for me. I can't get into that school. I can't pass that class. I might as well give up. I can't get this degree. I'll never be a doctor. I won't have a career. I won't meet someone who loves me, loves God, and looks good. Maybe you're saying, man, I can't be a Christian. This is too hard. I keep messing up. Maybe you say, I can't overcome the sin that I'm struggling with. I can't be forgiven. I can't forgive that person. I can't forgive myself. I can't go back home. Maybe you're counting yourself out because of your limitations. Helen Keller was blind after all, and look what she did. I just believe that as Christians, we know something else that the world doesn't know.
That's right.
Even when we've been counted out by the world's standards, God does not operate with the logic of the world. God is able to open doors where there has never been one. You know, I have so many testimonies. My personal of what God has done. I'll go with one of those recent ones, in that I'm there in Memphis because really there was no door there for me to pastor there. The pastor was leaving. He had planted a new church, and he had two churches. He was leaving to go do something else. And the conference said, well, we probably just going to take their church plant and stick it with another church. The church didn't want that because it's a different type of church, different church culture. And they said, okay, we'll give you like a stipend, pastor, and you'll pay for it. They said, no, we need a full-time pastor. And the president came down, he viewed the church, and he said, no, that's not what we're doing. And he said, you know what, I'll pray about it. And at the same time, right at that moment, I got a call from a friend whose friend went to that church and said they're looking to hire somebody to come and pastor this church. And he said she has the number for the pastor. And she said, yeah, they're looking to hire somebody. I said, she has the number for the pastor. Man, in regional conferences, pastors don't hire people. Presidents hire people. And I know how this thing works. I'm not calling them a pastor. At the time, I was working as a local hire in Georgia Cumberland Church, but they were paying like, with a full-time salary would almost be in benefits and everything. So I'm not going to leave this to go be a local hire for a little stipend over here. And so she couldn't verify it. I called Hunter. He was a friend with the pastor. Hunter called him. He said, man, tell your buddy, man, the conference has a lot of jobs. Tell him to call the conference and see what they got. And that was that. I was like, well, right now, I am like Saul. I have no Barnabas. Nobody to take me in to say vouch for him. I said, I'm leaving that alone. I'm going to do my own thing. A month later, I'm in the pastor's prayer meeting at the church where I'm working. We have a one-person prayer meeting together. And I get a call from Hunter. He said, bro, I just got a call from that same pastor who you had asked about before. He wants your number now. Said he needs to talk to you. I said, really? That's shocking. And so I said, give it to him. He called me, and a few minutes later said, man, listen. I am leaving this church. We need to hire a pastor. They weren't going to give us one. And when the president went and prayed, he said, we're going to give him a full-time pastor. And everyone that I've spoken to since then has said, you need to call this guy Richard to come and succeed you. And none of the people who I've talked to know each other. And so even though I didn't call him at the time, God still opened a door that was not there and called me to walk through it. You see, because if God is we're down on the deck, we're all out of cards, God can still come through. Yeah. You may have a limitation, but your limitation is not the end of the line. Yeah. Don't count yourself out. No. It's the first thing we got to do. Don't count yourself out, because the King wants to show kindness to you. Yeah. The King is in your corner. Yeah. What else do we get from this message right here? When we go back to the passage, right? He wants to show kindness, right? He wants to show kindness. I said I'd come back to this about who Saul is and who David was. Mephibosheth is from the house of David's enemy. Saul was the last king. He hunted David for years to try and kill him. He was the cause of David being on the run for years, living in caves in fear of his life. And traditionally, when kings came to power, they would seek out the family of all of those who could possibly oppose them and slaughter them. Because technically, Mephibosheth would be the heir to the throne. That's right. He's the only living survivor. And he could be a threat to David. And many would see him as David's enemy. David had every right, according to what their practices were, to take him out. But I love what the Bible says. It says, because of Jonathan, David is going to show him mercy. The text says that in verse 1 and verse 3, on account of Jonathan, that David is going to show him the kindness. On the account of Jonathan, David is going to show him kindness, the kindness of God. It is not because of something he has done to earn it, but because of the merit of his Father. Hallelujah. This is sweet right here. I'm going to preach this right now. Not because of something he's done, but because of the merit of his Father. Every human being lives on the kindness of somebody else. Everyone right here, right now, if you're making it, even if you don't have everything together the way you want it, you're still living on the kindness of somebody else. Don't forget to show a little kindness. The kindness you show may be the one that helps to elevate or give hope to someone else who may have given up. You don't have to have it all together, by the way, to show kindness. You don't have to have it. Remember the widow? The widow's wife? She gave her last. And Jesus says, man, she gave more than everybody else. Right. We don't have to have it all. We have to have everything to show kindness. And I've found that God blesses and has blessed me. I'm not saying there's a formula that you need to give to get something back. But the truth of the matter is that God's word said it, man. He blesses us when we are willing to give. Amen. A friend of mine showed me this a long time ago, man. He said, man, Rich, he said, listen, he said, put your hand on and ball it up. Go ahead. He said, man, now, watch this. I want to give you something. He had something in his hand. He said, I want you to receive this. That's right. You can't get it. He said, open your hand. I said, listen, if your hand is open to give, then it'll be open to receive. We don't have to have everything and have it all together and be rich to be able to give and show kindness. We can always show kindness. God has blessed me when I have given and shown kindness to others. And I believe he will do it for you as well. Amen. Malcolm S. Forbes says that you can easily judge the character of a man, and I would say woman also, by how he treats those who can do nothing for him. David's actions reveal a lot about his character, but it also exposes the heart of God. For it is the kindness of God, the Bible says, he's going to show Mephibosheth. God's love for you and I is not tied to what we've done. Amen. Or not done. That's right. He loves us because we are his children. Yeah. Because you're his son. Because you're his daughter. He loves you. After all, he died for us when we were still sinners. Yeah. And he think about this, that's how he demonstrates his love. I don't know if somebody here has been discouraged because you've been slipping and you've been falling down for a long time. I'm just here to say, listen, man, God still loves you. He loves you. People outside may not love you. They might feel like you're the Zacchaeus of the town. Like, why Jesus go into their house? But I've come to learn that Jesus loves to go to the house of sinners, including you and me. God offers his love to you and I, even though we haven't done anything to deserve it. Don't count yourself out. Don't count yourself out, because the King desires to show you mercy. Yes. What's this here? David said and brought him out of the house of Machir from the son of Amiel from Lo-Debar. 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 5. He brought him out of the house of Amiel from Lo-Debar. And watch what the Bible says. He says he's going to eat at the king's table continually. But Freeport is out in Lo-Debar. Lo-Debar means a place of no pasture. If you understand this, they're a cattle raising community, a farming community. So if you have no pasture, how are you going to feed your cattle, right? So it's like a barren place. It also means a place of no word or a place of no communication. Really, it's a place of the forgotten people. People in society. But David moves Mephibosheth from Lo-Debar to the king's table. From the place of the forgotten to the king's table. He totally changes his situation and his scenery. He gives him back all that was his grandfather's, all that he has lost, because God is still the restorer, brothers and sisters. And many of us may feel like, not just feel, but we are living in Lo-Debar today, a place where you've been forgotten, a place where you've been written off. As children, right, we have this innocence, right, about us, and in spite of the situation, we don't accept limitations. We just believe we can do anything. We can go anywhere. My kids still think they're gonna be able to, get a car and fly to the moon. They don't see it. Maybe they'll invent that, But it's people who actually hold on to those type of beliefs that actually invent things. Who don't box themselves in. But sometimes when we go through things, some rough times, as we get older and we experience life, all of our dreams and stuff get cut off. As kids, they forgive easily. We get older and now we tighten up. We get dropped. We're like, man, we become pessimistic. We lose our innocence. We lose our hope. And we've lost a lot of things. But the illustration in this passage let us know that God, who is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, has the power to change your situation and your scenery. Oh, because God restores. God can restore what you've lost. He can take you out of Lo-Debar. He can restore your children. He can restore your finances. He can restore your peace. He can restore your marriage. Hallelujah, somebody. He can restore your health. He can restore your mind. He can restore your dignity. He can restore your self-esteem. He can restore your confidence, your creativity, your hope, your humanity. Because he still is the restorer of the breach. God restores. God has the power to restore all that was lost. The reason that you can put your trust in the King is not just because the King desires to show you mercy, but because the King actually has the power to move you from Lo-Debar, the place of no pasture, to the palace. He can move you from the place of no pasture to the palace. So watch this. The Bible says in 2 Chronicles 9, verse 13 is the last point here. So Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he ate continually at the king's table. But it says he was lame in both feet. That's your hallelujah moment. You don't know yet, you want to see. Mephibosheth is still paralyzed, but he's at the king's table. He lives with his limitation, but he's at the king's table. Are you following me? Yes. Sometimes God blesses us, but we still live with the scars from the wounds we've received. Sometimes God blesses us, but we're still lame like Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth is lame, but watch this. The beauty of a king's table is that when you're seated at the king's table, these seats up here, I need to sit down here. When you're seated at the king's table, right? And the table is before you, and the tablecloth is spread. Nobody sees your legs. Nobody sees your limitation. Nobody sees what you've been struggling with. Nobody sees that you are a sinner and that God saved you. Nobody sees that you sank to the bottom and Jesus lifted you up. When you're at the king's table, his grace is sufficient for me. Of the gospel is that when you're at the king's table, the grace of God covers all your defaults, all your defects. The grace of God covers all your handicaps. handicaps, all your hang-ups. The grace of God covers all your sin. The grace of God has reserved you and I a seat at the place that we don't deserve. At the King's table. He's paralyzed, but he's at the King's table. He's unworthy, but he's at the King's table. He's forgotten by others, but he's by the place where you just want to be remembered, the King's table. The Christian in this world recognizes in this world of sin that you may live with your limitations, but ultimately you're living for a place at the King's table. Greatest mercy that you and I can receive would be to sit at the kingdom of God and to sit at his table. When Jesus comes back, the glory of it is, and the good news is that he will take away every limitation. He'll take away every tear from your eye. There'll be no more sorrow. There'll be no more pain. There'll be no more hurricanes and disasters and suffering, for the former things will pass away. Jesus comes back, he'll give us a space and a place at the King's table. He'll make all things new. There's a space at the King's table for you. There's a space at the King's table for you, for all of us. There is a space reserved by Jesus at the King's table. Mephibosheth lives with his handicap, but because of the space made by the King, he's made whole. Amen. The King's mercy is available to change our situation and our status now and for eternity. I love this message because I think about it. He said, I'm going to show you the kindness of God because of Jonathan, your father's sake. For Jonathan, because of Jonathan. I realize that this is the gospel. Jesus is our Jonathan.
Yes. Yep. Yes.
We were enemies with God, huh?
Yes.
Adam's sin made us enemies with God. All humanity is of the house of Adam. Every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. Every color. And so we all were enemies of God. But Jesus came down from heaven. Entered the human race. The Bible says, born of a woman. He had setbacks too. Didn't have anywhere to lay his head, he told the disciples. Born in a manger, really, it was a trough, a feeding trough for animals. He didn't have much. Where God says he didn't even have his own place, right? Yet he lived in such a way that he distinguished himself from Adam. For even though he was tempted as we were, yet he lived without sin. Amen. And because of his life, because of his death, he has earned favor with God. Yea, power to forgive us of sin. Power to redeem us. Power to redeem all that was lost. Power to restore us at our rightful place at the table as sons and daughters of the King. Just as David desired to show kindness to a member of Saul's family, because of Jonathan, God desires to show the kindness of eternal salvation to every member of Adam's family, because of Jesus and his sacrifice. That's why he can. Family, brothers and sisters, I don't know what your situation is today. Many of you have lost a lot. But I hope that today you remember that there's a King in your corner who loves you, who desires to show you mercy. And that with him in your corner, you can get out of low debar, whatever situation you're in. You can get out of low debar, this sinful world one day. Yes. And have a seat at the King's table. Hallelujah. It's like the game of checkers. Anybody play the game of checkers? Yeah. You know, you playing checkers, man, you could be down and out. You could be losing the game, man. person have more pieces than you. But if you have a king in your corner, you can still win the game. I just stopped by and said, you have a king in the corner. Chips may be down. Looks like, man, everything is coming against you. There's no way to win. But the king is in your corner. You can still win. You can still come through. You can still overcome. And he promises that he'll give you eternal life. Is there anybody here today from the house of Adam? Anybody? Yeah, you heard it. I don't know if you heard it or not. The answer is all of us are from the house of Adam. The king desires to show you mercy. All of us. His forgiveness is not based on when we repent first. His forgiveness comes as a promise before we even move to repentance. He said, I have this here for you. I have salvation already for you. You don't have to earn this. I earned it already. All you have to do is accept. The Bible says, he that believes and is baptized shall be saved. So I want to make 3 appeals today. Very simple. And I believe do you understand the message today? We'll say amen. The message was clear. First appeal is, do you want the king in your corner? This one is easy. You want the king in your corner? Oh, yes. Wonderful. All right. Second appeal here is, you want the king in your corner, and I don't know, maybe today you want to make a decision for the first time to join the king. Give your life to him. You don't have to be cleaned up. You may still be struggling, but you still come to the king. He'll take care of that. Today you want to say, Lord, I want to take a step with you. I want you to be my king. I want to make you my savior, and I want to be baptized. It's the first step. First appeal I'm going to make here. Anybody here? If you're here like today, just wave your hand. Just wave your hand, anybody? You're here today. You want to wave your hand? I see a little girl in the back waving her hand. She waving her hand? You want to be baptized? Or you just say hello? You want to be baptized? Praise the Lord. But you come up here with me. Come on up here with me. Anybody else? You want to make a step to the king. The king doesn't say you have to be clean. He just says, listen. Just come and accept. Just wave your hand wherever you are. Can she come stand with me? She can come stand with me. I'm just going to pray with you. Anybody else? Come on, young lady. God bless you. Give her a round of applause. Anyone else? Say the child will lead them. That's all right. You got your leader here, you know. Anyone else? Want to be baptized? Want to recommit yourself to God? Maybe it's not the first baptism. You want to recommit yourself to God. You walked away from Him for a while. You want to recommit anyone? All right. The next appeal here, similar to the first one. This one allows you to join the family of God. This one will do as well. You want to be a part of this fellowship here at Freeport Church, with this faith community. You've been baptized already, maybe, and you want to just join this church by profession of faith. Just saying, I believe in God, and I believe in the message that you're teaching here, and I want to join this. You don't have to be rebaptized. Anybody want to join this church by profession of faith today? Just wave your hand. Anyone? All right. And finally, the last one, you just want to be a part of what they got going on here. You love the message, you love the work, you love the men's choir you want to be singing to, the choir, and you want to transfer your membership here at the Freeport Church today. Anybody want to transfer your membership to the Freeport Church and get involved here? Just wave your hand. 3 appeals. You want to be baptized, profession of faith, transfer membership. All right, I think people say they're secure. Maybe they're right here. They're right here. Well, praise the Lord. We're going to pray. We're going to pray for somebody. What's your name? Say again.
Glory.
Glory. All right, thank you for praying for glory here. And you can just lift your hands towards the glory here. And kind of just in agreement that we're going to lift up to God even now. Let's pray. Gracious Lord, we thank you for your word today. We thank you to be in our corner. that we don't have to have it together. And even if things don't look like we can make it out, you can bring us out. Thank you that you desire to show us kindness and to forgive us even though we go away from you. Some of us, even right now, you continually forgive us, you accept us and welcome us back. And I pray, oh God, that even when we get in our hard days ahead, and some of us having hard times now, that you would encourage us, that you're with us, that you're in our corner. I pray, God, you provide for whoever needs it right now, whatever their heart's burden is, minister to our needs. There's someone here today who may be struggling with a decision to accept you. I pray, Father, that you unburden them, that they might be able to choose you, because you've already chosen them. Pray for the Lori Clark today, Lord, who's come forward and said she wants to be baptized and give her life to you. Lord, you said, accept me, be like children. We can't even accept the kingdom of God. Enter the kingdom of God. And so she's made a decision, Father. And so I pray that God would strengthen her and build a family and encourage her. And I pray, God, we look forward to the day when she will go down in the watery graves of baptism and come up in newness of life with the King in her corner. We thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank God for his word today, for his messenger. Amen. A tremendous message reminding us of the love of God. So Pastor Henderson, we just want you to remain abiding at the King's table. We want you to take our greetings back with you to your church and to your conference. We also at this time want to recognize two special persons who sneaked in after the official welcome. And that is probably the newest married couple in Grand Bahama, Jenny and Sherelle Adley. Amen. Stand for us, please. Let's see what a week of marriage has done for you. Amen. At this time, we invite you to stand with us as we sing our closing hymn, number 183. I will sing of Jesus' love.
Just one quick announcement for all our Center Choir members. Remember to remain behind for a few minutes, all the Center Choir members. For a few minutes, just remain behind for preparation tomorrow. 183, I will sing Jesus' love.
I will sing, oh Jesus, Just before the benediction, those of you who were here on Wednesday night, Pastor promised you a form, so see me immediately following the service, as well as I need to see the elders following the service also. I have something for you. Let us pray. Father God, we thank you once again for giving us the opportunity to sit at the King's table.
Yes.
We thank you, Lord, for coming back and filling our hearts with your Holy Spirit, with the Word of God. As we leave this place now, Lord, help us not to leave your presence. Guide us, protect us, keep us safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.